So what would be that number and how did you sort of come to that number?
10 crores looks like where one should be, because there was also the added responsibility of education for my daughter, etc.
Right.
And so all of those. Anyone planning their exit should have 2-3 ways to look at it. If you're closer to the 8, you're well and good, no worries. The match for that is long-term inflation 6%, 7%, long-term returns 12%. So you're above 6% over inflation.
Right.
So that's the first criteria on the 8. The second way to look at it is whatever is your corpus, whatever, 8, 10, 20, 30, 1, 0, 2, whatever, you can allow yourself to withdraw anything between 4 to 5% annually.
Okay.
And it will last for about 25 to 30 years. The third way to look at it is whatever are your monthly annual expenses, annual, 20 lakh le lo, kisi ka annual expense hai. So you need roughly 25 times of your annual expense.
Right.
किसी भी तरीके से कर कुरा के देखो, it all comes down to roughly around the 10-ish number. But there's another aspect we were discussing, that this is not just about the money.
Right.
If you have the money, but you don't know what to do with your time because you're actually buying time.
Correct.
What are you doing with the money? You're buying time.
Right.
But if you don't know what to do with the time, then why do you want to leave? Then continue doing what you're doing. So it's only advisable for people who know what to do with that time. Not with all 24 hours, but I've come to the conclusion that we need to know what to do with a 6-hour block. Of the active 12 hours in a day, 50% का पता होना चाहिए क्या करना.
This house of yours, it's just fantastic. I mean, I just walked in and I was in awe. And it, from the outside, honestly, I didn't expect this when I walked into the building.
Right. Quickly show you where I spend a lot of my time, my study. This is my study. I sit and spend a lot of my reading time. So there's a separate room which we call the fashion room. This is our bedroom, and we've kept it open and wide, and it looks right into the greens, which is where we spend a lot of our time.
If you can just throw some light on your journey, where you started.
25 years that I've worked, it's been financial services, and a majority of that has been in the mutual fund industry.
Okay.
So I've seen the mutual fund industry really kind of from almost zero to around the 45 lakh crore industry that it is today.
So Karan, let me take this opportunity to make use of your experience in the mutual fund industry, right? Your views in terms of how people should approach or look at investments in the mutual fund industry.
So if someone had started that journey in 96 and continued till today, take a wild estimate of what some of those funds have returned.
I mean,
the wildest possible.
Probably like 25-30%.
Compounding. Right? So let's assume that, you know how many times that could be over 25 years?
That's a lot.
It's almost bordering around anything between 230 to 250 times. So the average is around 18 to 20% compounding for almost all of them that have been in business for 25. It's not as if one of them has done this. We'll barely get investors who have been part of this journey for 25 years. So in my industry, there's a very famous saying that the fact sheets have delivered, but the investors have not seen the money.
Okay.
So the fact sheet is a representation of performance.
Yeah.
So the fund houses have delivered the performance, but investor ही नहीं है कोई.
कोई रहा ही नहीं उतने सही तो.
रहा ही नहीं, patience ही नहीं दिखाई किसी ने. You know, India has the highest number of crypto investors in the world.
Yeah.
Highest in the world. Largest number of retail investors in a stock are actually in Yes Bank. And I'm not commenting whether Yes Bank is a great stock or not a great stock. I'm just saying the highest number is in Yes Bank. The largest number of folios that have got created in mutual funds is in small and mid cap. So we're following the 1-year performance.
Right.
And overlooking the 20-year one.
Right.
Just flip it around, you'll make money. Imagine if someone had invested 1 crore 25 years ago. Do they even need to have these conversations?
Yeah, they don't.
So don't lose out on the next 20 years.
Right. When did you sort of decide that this is what you want to do, that retiring early is what you want to do? And was there a specific goal or objective behind it?
I retired in 2018. I was 48 at that time. If you look at 50 to 60, the age,
right,
it is either the best phase professionally or you can make it the best phase personally.
Okay.
See, at 50, 52, you are a really senior person.
Yes.
50 to 60, you can continue doing it, or you can say, okay, I'm done. Take the money and invest those 10 years into everything that can help you in your journey aage, from 60 onward. So if anyone is now living till about 85, maybe even 90, even if you retire at 60 or 62, you still have a 30-year journey.
True.
So those 30 years will be based on how physically fit, how mentally fit, and how fiscally fit you are.
You met that goal of retiring at 48. So what is taking up your time now?
At some stage in my head, I want to play for India. I want to sprint for India, a 100-meter sprint, and it's a very tough sport. So 2 to 3 hours go into training. And then now I've picked up the game of golf purely to balance out the physical aspect, to pick up a game which is so
mentally
demanding. And the remainder of 3 hours, I spent studying a lot. I do spend a lot of time studying geopolitics and its economic impact on India.
Prior to that 40 age point where you decided to retire early, and post that when you had a number in mind, what were the financial strategies of investment, and did that change in any way?
So SIPs were a regular feature pretty much from day one for me. So there's salary, there's bonus.
Right.
And sometimes if things work out well, there's a third line, which is either stock options. It didn't kick in many parts of my career, but fortunately in my last assignment, the third line of stock options kicked in.
Lovely.
We were the early kind of team that set up Axis Mutual Fund. And so that helped me cross the 10 CR that was in my mind. If this didn't work out, and if not there, it doesn't mean that my journey would have stopped. The journey won't have stopped. The process 48 ka 52 ho jata.
Right. So let's talk about your general asset allocation in this strategy, right? You're a mutual fund industry person, so I'm sure there's a lot of it in mutual funds.
I've come to the conclusion that real estate is for living, gold is an ornament, insurance is for protection, and mutual fund is for wealth creation. But it charon ka alag-alag kaam hai, and right? And then for capital markets, it's wealth creation, provided you have the patience to stay the course.
Right.
So the only real estate I own or we own is this home that we have. There's no other real estate. 30% of my money, of our money, is in gilt funds. So now the rest of the 70% is pure equity, but a big chunk is in a PMS. And so broadly 70% equity, 30% gilt funds. And I've kept it extremely simple.
So Karan, I think we've spoken about your allocations towards equity and gilt funds, right? 70-30. And the question then comes to mind is that you are using this money to make money, but you also have to utilize it.
Yes.
Right. So how do you plan these investments in a way for utilization?
For the primary source of income, I do use the systematic withdrawal plan, or sometimes if I need the money, I'll simply go and redeem.
Right.
As simple as that. If I'm going out on a trip and I'm going to spend money, or if I'm buying a watch, it will be a big number. वो SWP में होगा नहीं.
Right.
So simple redemption, as basic as that. But there's, you're right. Technically, this SWP really works wonders from a tax angle, as well as just a nice, prudent, simple way of taking your money to use it. The sources of income outside the investments, because I'm on the board of a couple of companies.
Right.
Plus, I also do some assignments, speaking assignments, and in my expense structure, 70% is coming in from the investments and 30% comes in from all other sources of
income sources.
Income sources.
But what are those passion spends, if I can? And I've seen your Instagram, so I'm sure there's a lot to talk about there, and our viewers would love to know. I'll not reveal it, but I'd let you tell in terms of these passion spends for you.
So sometimes I feel as if spending your own money is considered like a big taboo in India.
Right.
Right. So and the other day I wrote about it, that what's the point of, living poor and dying rich? You earn this money primarily to save and spend. Me and my wife have built a bit of a interest, certainly me, is in watches. And each of my watches has a story behind as to why I bought it. The name of the watch is a Bell and Ross,
Okay.
and their tagline is from the cockpit to the wrist.
Oh.
And they're made primarily for fighter pilots.
Ah.
And being a fighter pilot's son, I had to have, in the same continuity of defense services background. This is a Panerai, and there's a reason why Panerai is so famous. Dhoni was the brand ambassador once upon a time.
Okay.
Panerai. So this piece, if you look at the construct of the piece, look at the whole locking system.
Oh, lovely.
It's huge, chunky, and very safe. So it was first introduced for Italian Marine commandos in World War II. This is one of my favorite watches. It's almost impossible to get this. It's called the Rolex Datejust. What I'm wearing right now is a Rolex Sea Dweller. This watch can go down to 1,000 meters below sea.
Wow.
But I'm always in this watch because it represents who I am, explorer. This is a very fascinating brand. It's called the Hublot.
Do you look at it as like a investment?
Technically, I don't look at them like an investment. But if I was to value them, then they're appreciated. If I remember correctly, I bought this for 6.5 lakhs.
Right.
My guess is if I try and go and sell it, I think I'll get roughly around upwards of 13, maybe even 14 lakhs. This one I just got very recently. This cost me 10 lakhs. And if again I go and sell it, I'll probably get 30.
One critical question which I have, right? And I would really want to know this. Pre your early retirement and now, what are the changes in your personal life, more so in terms of your relationship with people?
You're right. I mean, I'm at home. So there's just more time that we spend, me and my wife just spend a good amount of time together. We also work out together.
Right.
So breakfasts are together, lunches are together, coffees together, movies are together. This is obviously with family, and very fortunately, all of us are staying in the same building.
Right.
So my sister's on the next floor and my parents are on the top floor.
Oh, lovely.
So all of us have separate homes. We don't intrude into each other's privacy, but we're all together. Every evening we meet.